Hello and welcome back. Today we are going to try and fix this Copal Model 227 flip clock from around the 1970s. The issue with it is that the motor doesn't spin when you plug it in. The little indicator here doesn't work, and but it does. The little light inside of it does glow, so it is getting power, but the issue with it is something to do with the motor. So let's plug it in here. I'll show you what it looks like when it's plugged in, and then we'll start taking it apart. You may have noticed in the first scene that this is actually a European model clock. You can't actually buy this model of clock with the 24-hour format in anywhere other than Europe. Japan and America were both the AM PM, and I'm not really a big fan of AM PM clocks. I like 24-hour clocks, so we're gonna have to use this little European adapter box. And of course, since this is a 50 hertz device running it on a 60 hertz power source, it's gonna have the wrong time, and so we'll address that a little later if we can get this fixed. Okay, we're all plugged in, we've powered on. There should be nothing moving here. This should move if it's working, and there's a little LED light. So there, it's powered on. You can see that the little indicator here telling you that the motor is turning is not turning, but you can see right down here that the little orange light turns on. So the little bulb inside of here is good, which I guess those kind of go bad a lot. So we don't have to fix that, we just got to fix this little motor not working. There are only 3 screws here. 1, 2, 3. So let's pop those out. Oh, look at the crazy buildup on this. I don't know how bad of a sign that is, but definitely probably means it's had a lot of use. Looking inside the clock here, this all looks to be original. I don't see anything that looks like it's been messed with here. There's not a whole lot going on inside here anyways. Something that's kind of cool is you can see how the alarm works. This little lever latches over when you rotate it. So there, the alarm is on. And actually, we should see if it makes a noise. I'm gonna plug this in and we'll see if it buzzes at least or something. Alarm should be on right now since these contacts here are connected. So let's see. Yeah. Okay, so if I rotate the time, the buzzer should turn off. Yeah, okay. So we definitely know that the alarm works. The next step is getting this out of the enclosure, and it looks like you just kind of pull these out on the side here, so we'll do that quick. Oh, they're tough. Interesting. Okay, yeah, so here, oh, the light's in the way. You can see it says 50 hertz, 220 AC. So that's definitely the European motor. This is really hard to turn, and I don't think that it should be. So what I've seen online is that this is supposed to spin really freely, and what happens over time is the oil inside of this motor dries up, and then it causes this to be as gunky as it is. And usually all you need to do is take this motor apart and clean it and then lubricate it, and then that should fix it. So I noticed a couple other things while I was just looking at it here now, and one of them is that these little cards have actually worn a pretty decent groove through them over the years, and you can see that's caused due to these restraining pins that hold the cards in place as the time moves on. And so if I rotate it here, you
can see kind of how that mechanism works. And as a result of this thing being on, or being used over time so much, it's definitely worn this little groove through there, and it's also on the other side here. So this clock's for sure got a good amount of hours on it, which is fine because the flips, still the retaining mechanism still works. And the other thing I noticed is that this is for sure the original lamp in here, since the wires here haven't been cut or anything. This is all original. So, this lamp is probably pretty close to being on its way out, and I'm sure if we get this working and I use it for any amount of time, that lamp's probably going to go out. But, we're not here to fix that right now. We'll fix that at some other day. It seems like the only thing holding this on is these two little nuts here. Alright, that's those two little nuts off. Hopefully it'll just pull right out of here. Some shield guy. Oh yeah, it's loose. Take a quick look at these gears. None of the teeth seem broken or anything. I've been doing a little research on this, and from what I can tell, when you spin this flywheel, the little gear, this little golden gear is supposed to move. And no matter what way I spin this, that gear is not moving. And so I think, unfortunately, what's going on is the gears inside this gearbox, maybe one of them is broken. I also can't move this gear if I try to move it by itself. It feels kind of locked up, and so I think what maybe happened is a gear kind of broke inside there and lodged itself, and then this flywheel kind of, like, the teeth stripped off it. So I haven't seen a way to actually assemble this particular motor. I have like some sort of weird oddball one, I guess. But most of the people online say that you kind of grind off these rivets, and then I haven't seen one that has the screw, but I'm assuming I take this screw off as well, and then you pop this cover off, and then you should get access to the gears inside. So I'm gonna take a Dremel to those rivets. Alright, you can see I've ground off those rivets. Now there's some sort of seal around here. I'm just going to cut this seal quick. I know this is going to be hard to see, but you can see all the gears are moving, and you can see on this one, there's this little spot right here, a little orange glob. You can see that moving if I wind this through enough. So you can tell that all the gears are moving here. That one little gloober spot there is definitely rotating, and so all the gears, including that big red one, are moving. So it doesn't seem like the gears are stuck, but I don't know why I can't move that one. It must be just due to like the reduction on the other side. I can't move it due to how much gearing there is on it. But all the gears do actually seem to be just fine. So that's not the issue. So now that I know the gears are in good shape, the only thing left to do again is to separate. Get a pointer here. Separate the flywheel portion of the motor from the gearbox portion. And so we're just going to take a razor blade here and just jam it in between, and since we popped those, ground those rivets down, it should just pop right out. So I believe we've managed to pop all these rivets out. Alright, we have separated the gearbox. Hooray! Surprisingly, it still doesn't turn. So the whole reason we're here is so that we can lubricate this shaft inside of here. Now that we have access to the backside here, I think we can take this gear off and then pop some oil down in there, and then it should spin like a top. The final step is getting this little gear guy out of there. Alright, I did manage to get it started with this little thin flathead screwdriver, so we'll pop it off the rest of the way here. Aha! Success! Okay, we have extracted the gear. And now, the moment I've been waiting for. Should be able to pull this off of here. Aha. And so there's our motor. And inside of here is the prize. And so the issue is like all this gunk is in here. You can see all this like, you can't, hold on. You can kind of see all the gunk that's in here, this like dried grease and stuff that's been just gunking up the machine. So we can clean that with some 99%. And then we'll also, we'll clean out this bearing inside of here on both sides. You can see here on this side as well. We've got a whole bunch of gunk built up in there that's like dried grease and dust and other junk that's just been making it so that it doesn't have enough torque to spin. So I'm going to clean all this stuff up real quick, and then we will put it back together and hopefully it works. And you know, when that gets all gunked up like it is, it's there's just not enough torque for this little tiny, just like a little tiny thin strip of magnet here. It's just not strong enough to overcome all that gunk when it gets built up. So now I'm going to clean this side here a little bit, not too much, but a little bit. This is kind of interesting. I put it back together. I was curious just how much better it would clean, or how much better it would spin just by cleaning it. I haven't lubricated it or anything yet. And so check out how well this thing spins with no lube, but just cleaning out all that gunk. So, you know, even with no lube in there, you know, it makes it all the way around very easily. So that gives me good hope. Oh yeah. I know it looks wobbly, but it's just that the little sticker is just on there crooked. So it's not actually like the metal isn't wobbling that much, it's just the sticker. Alright, let's get that little gear back on and we'll plug this thing back in, and hopefully the motor should spin all disassembled like this. Well, we're not gonna mess with it. Let's plug it in and let's see if it works. Here we go. Oh, it works. Yes, check it out. All right, that is a fully operational motor. Let's get this thing back together, and hopefully it goes back together. And let's watch it flip. Hopefully it flips. First step is getting the gearbox back together. It should just all press back in there, but you know, we'll see. Just this guy. 3 clicks. back together. But do the gears still move? Okay, the gears still move. All right, let's get this cover back on. Let's not lose this screw. And then finally, we put it back onto the main chassis. All right, that's the whole unit fully reassembled. Let's get it plugged in and wait a minute and see what happens. All right, and again, since this is a 50 hertz clock, it should take less than a minute for it to do the flip. So I'm gonna start the timer and turn it on. Hopefully within a minute, it'll flip. Oh, bummer. It didn't flip. I'm not entirely sure what happened, but I was playing around with this manual time adjustment knob and then just flipping it forward a couple times, and then I noticed that it randomly started working on its own, and so you'll see here in about 30 seconds that it'll flip. Huzzah! we have flip. Yeah, so it must have just been like when I first reassembled it, you know, some of the gears were like kind of jammed or something, or they weren't making good contact. But you know, after kind of manually flipping it a couple times, it's working pretty consistently. And as you saw, it only takes about 50 seconds for it to flip because it's running on it's a 50 hertz clock running on a 60 hertz in the U.S. And so even though it's now working 100%, it doesn't actually tell good time in my area of the world. And so the next step will be to address the 50 hertz problem. You may be wondering how in the world I actually am going to convert the 50 hertz motor to 60 hertz. And as far as I can tell, there is no real possible way without like rewinding the motor. The other alternatives there are is you can buy like this fancy 50 hertz to 60 hertz like time chronometer thing, and it's like $400, and like that's not something I'm interested in buying. But what is cheap and easy to find is these American versions. The American versions of this clock are very prevalent, and they're very cheap. So the plan is to swap the motor from this American one into the European one. I'm not going to show disassembling the American motor and cleaning that and stuff again. I'm just going to show swapping the motor in. Hopefully the motor fits to begin with. I'm assuming they're the same inside internally. And so we'll skip to just swapping the motor, and we'll hopefully that's possible. You might be wondering, why did you even bother fixing the European clock when you're just going to swap the American one? And well, for starters, just swapping the motor doesn't make that interesting of a video, and I wanted to fix something that's broken and make it working again. So that's one of the reasons. And the other reason was I wanted to practice disassembling the European motor since I knew it was broken, and you know, essentially a lost cause anyways. If I managed to screw up taking it apart in some way or another, then I knew that like, well, I don't want to wreck the American one, which is what, like, you know, the one I wanted to use is in the end of it. So the American or the European was more or less just like a practice motor, and also, you know, this channel is about fixing stuff, so let's fix it. Oh no, it's screwed in there. Why would they do this to me? Oh no. Foiled. So thankfully it appears you can take out this whole back plate can come out. So you can take out this screw here and then this screw here, and hopefully that will bring the back piece out. So let's try. Aha. We are really in it now. But here's that screw. Like, how cruel of them to make you do that. I have to figure out how that works too. Okay, well, let's get that screw out. Now, to put everything onto put the European electronics onto what's left of our, put the American electronics onto the European. Let's see. Man, that's like a Chinese finger trap. All right, we've got that reassembled again, thankfully. I'm assuming that they thought ahead and all the stuff only lines up one way, so that it's going to go off at the correct time. We will only find out though. So now, time to put the America electronics on. We're all back together. Let's plug it in and see if it works. Oh. I'm in big trouble there. I have to figure something out here. Okay, so I've hit yet another roadblock. I thought I could just swap the electronics onto the back plate from the Europe land, and it's just not gonna happen. It doesn't clear the back of this case because there's different mounting holes. The Europe back plate has different holes in it for mounting this so that it can fit sideways, and so I have to take the back plate off of the US side onto the Europe onto the America. I mean, man, this is a lot more than I bargained for, but we're in this far, so we're gonna cut to me after I've swapped these. All right, team, we've done it. We've got the America flip with the European buzzer, switch, and motor over here. And we now have the European flip with the America buzzer, switch, and motor. So now finally, we can put both of these back together and have two working flip clocks that are for the opposite time zone or opposite regions electricity grid. Ah, jeez. Gosh, this thing got me one last time. So the problem was I had it mounted down too low here. And these bottom screws, which like line up or whatever, but you know, the back plate was hitting it, so you actually have to. I went back to my footage and I looked, and it's supposed to be mounted up here. So let's do that, and I'm just gonna stop promising that this is the last time I take this apart. But let's do this and let's get it back. Let's try again. Oh, Yes. Ah, it's finally. Okay. Oh man, how insane! All right. Jeepers. All right, there we are. Both of them back together. Let's get them set up on the main table, and we'll do one final check of them both doing what they do with time. Finally, here we have these two little buggers, both of them working perfectly fine, swapped in their power grid support. So let's fire them up here and see. The European one is a little ahead. Not too bad. And the American one's actually, I started the timer a couple seconds late, so they're both on time as you'd expect. The European one is 10 seconds ahead, and the American one is right on where it should be. That's gonna do it for this episode. It's kind of a bummer that the American one has the European time one now has the dead lamp in it. But you know, this video's gone long enough. Fix the lamp at a later day. But for now, I'm super excited that I have the 24-hour clock with the US electrical grid working perfectly fine. So that's gonna do it for this one. Thanks so much everyone for watching, and I will see you on the next one.